seven full members, right? And then Tina is sitting in for Diana. So it's, if I recall correctly, it's seven. So four would be quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Bob's with Bill, who's not on.
Even so, we got you, Sharon, Woody, and Tina.
Yep, we're good. So Bill dragged Bob out of Vermont to oh well. It's cold up there anyway. And we get Chuck on the line too today. Wow, we
How
are
you doing, sir?
an embarrassment of riches here. We've got you look familiar, Chuck. I can't place the name. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, that's who he is. Yeah, who's that guy?
Oh, that's who's that? Oh, that's right. That's right. Collier's. No,
He used to work for us at one point.
Yeah. Adam is doing such a wonderful job. We've forgotten who you are, but
That's what I like to hear. I love it. That's what I want to keep hearing.
it's great to have you on the line.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I just like to sit on some of the more important ones, all of them if I can. But yeah, Adam's doing a great job, obviously. So glad to hear that.
Got it. So is Bill? I know Raquel. I've talked to Bill before. I know he's in his office with Bob. So is he on the line? I don't see him.
No, I don't see him, but I know he said he wanted to join the meeting tonight, so he should be.
Yeah, I assume. They may be reminiscing in Bill's office about the good old days. So that. We'll get started in a minute here because I know some people have a tight meeting. Let me text him here.
There he is, Graham. He just popped on.
Oh, okay, good.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulty. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see Bob, but.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can see me. Oh, there's Bob. Bob, you
Okay,
gotta,
yeah, you guys are.
gotta come in closer. I'll take the virtual off.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like you're.
Yeah, I had the background on. Let me take it off.
Your background's your office?
Yeah, there it is. Can you see Bob now?
Yes, I can. Very distinguished.
Thanks a lot, Graham.
Yeah, no. I appreciate you making it warm, jumping on, coming down for us. Okay, so we have so it looks like we have a quorum plus. So we'll start the meeting at 5:03 p.m., a special meeting of the building committee. Let's see, I don't have I'm trying to find the agenda, but bear with me. So public comment, any public comment? I assume Rachel, we don't have any in the public?
No.
Okay. Great. Okay. So, I'll just start with like a preface. So when last we met, we were a little over budget and we had some problems. So what we've had some conversations with the town about moving the referendum wording gave us some flexibility to move some money around between projects. So they've agreed to move temporarily $5 million over to the project so we can move forward with the design development. We're still tasked with returning some of that money, $2.5 million. I've got on Woody's ledger to get IRA reimbursement for the geothermal back. So not to put any extra pressure on you, Woody, but we need to, we've kind of committed. I've committed that we will find that $2.5 million and return it to the project budget. And the other
I would think only if we put in geo, which isn't in the log.
Well, so we're gonna get that, and the other $2.5 million, and we'll go through the numbers later. But the other $2.5 million, we're moving forward on good faith that we're going to hopefully be able to find the money as we move forward. But if we have to get creative with that other $2.5 million. But for the purpose of us moving forward, the town has agreed to move forward, to move $5 million from Polson to this project. The Board of Selectmen still will have to vote on that officially to move that money over. But we're having a meeting in early January, so to make that move. But they've agreeable to move forward under those premise. So we do need to make some decisions tonight about the value engineering and what's in, what's out, and how much, how many of the potential, some of the Board of Education stuff, do we want to pursue that or not? So that's kind of a high level recap. So moving on to the minutes. I believe, has everyone seen the minutes of the last meeting? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes.
I'll say,
Okay, sure. And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we're gonna, I think this will be the part where Jeff gives his update, but I think it's mostly, we're basically just talking about value engineering. So Jeff, I assume you'll waive your moment of fame here and,
Yeah, I'll waive my rights and then turn them over to Adam.
okay.
It's a dangerous proposition there, Jeff.
I trust you.
Okay, with that, I guess we'll turn it over to Adam and kind of run through the, if you want to recap.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Graham mentioned a fair bit of the preamble there. I'll share my screen here as we're talking. The ultimate goal for tonight is, if everyone is comfortable, to approve the VE and VM log with the exceptions, rejections, and alternates. So we're formally making decisions upon how the project is moving forward. And then the second component to that is authorizing Tecton to proceed on to the design development phase based on the schematic design package plus the changes that were described in the VE and VM log. The reason why we're bringing up the special meeting is there isn't another school building committee meeting until January 9th, I think. That's also the day before the Board of Selectmen meet. So if we weren't to have the special meeting, there'd be 2 weeks of mostly treading water, not making real progress, because we need to move into design development phase to keep the project moving and keep the documents moving. So that's the focus for tonight. I have in your packets, I sent out the VEVM log with the allocations and decisions made during the meeting based on what I was hearing from the committee in terms of what was favorable to be taken as value engineering, value management, the one item that was rejected, that kind of thing. So what I would propose we do tonight to be expeditious and make decisions that we need to is first identify if anyone took exceptions to my understandings of what the selections were. Basically everything that's not highlighted. Did anyone see anything missing or wrong or needs to be changed? Then just quickly go through those yellow items. And then finally, again, if everyone's all comfortable, I've got a couple of draft motions in the committee packet that reference the Board of Selectmen ultimate vote for the moving of funds and that kind of thing. Just before we tag to the log, I want to kind of zoom here to the bottom. So if you recall, the reconciled cost estimate was just over 56.5 million. Original construction budget was 46.6 with the 5 million that Graham had mentioned. That cuts our $9.9 million deficit down to 4.9. So ultimately it's to get this 4.9 down to a number that's agreeable, that makes sense, that as the design develops, we can ensure that the remaining components of the building reduce that deficit further, which is that's a typical process that we see as you get some of the unsure elements and some of the questions that fill in between schematic design and construction documents. As you reduce some of those variables, the uncertainty goes down, and therefore some of the cost buffers and things can go down. So as of right now, with the items that were, again, that I had tracked from our last meeting, the project would be trending, taking those VE items at about a $2.4 million deficit, that's within the realm of something that might be contemplated for moving on to DD. The big questions for tonight would be, A, if anything is missing or wrong, and then B, with these yellow items, are any of these other items something that the committee would like to entertain to make decisions on now to help reduce risk as we move forward into design development?
Adam, I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
The possible items where are they in this budget? Are they taken out or are they still in it?
Right now, if the possibles are things to decide. So if, I guess the best way to say it is if they were rejected, the cost would be included and the scope would be included in the deficit. And we'd have a $2.4 million deficit. If we, and you can see as I change it, if, for example, the committee voted to accept reducing the hallways, that 200,000 gets moved into accepted, and that reduces that value by 200,000. So right now, impossible, it's in limbo, if you will. And then we'll allocate it based on the committee's discretion tonight.
Well, then I don't understand the geo being a possible.
All right. It was at the time of the last meeting. I strongly suspect that's something we'll talk about here very shortly.
But in terms of the
Potentially
numbers,
rejected.
Graham suggested getting, 2.5 million of the 5 million back. How do you do that with those numbers if the geo's not in there?
You don't. So, case in point, I suspect that the committee will vote to reject the geothermal to allow them to get the 3 million back to fund the premise. So this represented what the sort of the status of discussion at the last meeting. Now we're here to finalize it. So I suspect it won't be possible. I suspect it will be rejected. And once we're done with this conversation, so the project can utilize these extra rebates and things. So just before we go through the yellow lists here, were there any items that anyone identified from the non-highlighted that they thought were incorrect or otherwise needed to be changed? I'll stop sharing for just a second, just in case there's a hand or anything. Heads, so I'm going to take that to mean everything looks good. All right. So back to the log, just going from the top down. First item was that was still in limbo, so to speak. The reduction in the kitchen equipment, holding to a $350K allowance. This was a Board of Education item because it's the kitchen equipment is defined in the ed specs. Just as an update on this item, I did have a conversation with Jeff here today about this type of topic, and something that might be in consideration for the committee for tonight is not taking this as a value engineering item at this point to avoid changing the ed specs for this particular item, and instead, as we move through design development and get a better feel for the space, working with the town kitchen staff director and identifying what items may or may not be more prudent. That will prevent us from having to bring this item up as a change for the ed specs, and B, have a better definition of what the savings might even look like or what would be best used for the town.
Okay, I recommend we leave it in.
All right. Unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to change that to rejected then.
Yeah, and I guess we don't really need to take motions about these.
No,
We'll do it at the end, right?
We'll do one at the
Yeah,
end.
we'll do a summary motion at the end. Okay.
Yep,
perfect.
exactly.
Okay. But this means
Uh,
we're not gonna put gas. I guess we've decided if we go geothermal, we're not gonna have gas. We're committing to a induction cooking equipment.
Mhm.
You could still
I guess-
theoretically do both,
Yeah,
but
but we
that's a
don't get-
separate,
yeah.
that's a separate topic. Yep.
Yeah, the gas, we've taken the gas main out of it, or we will. Okay.
So the next item that was a highlight was reducing the amount of glass at the exterior This was a follow-on item that that Nick at Gilbane wanted to look into the value, which is why it was still highlighted. Nick confirmed that this was not priced for producing 25% of glazing at doors. Instead, it was just for removing 3 locations of glass transoms and instead having them be metal panels. So it's a far less invasive scope, and that's why it's only $6,700. Yeah, because did I describe that correctly?
Yes, you did. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I'm all for accepting that as a reduction.
Anything else? Anyone else? Perfect. All right. On a geo exchange. So yes, this whole additional funds scheme is predicated on having the geo exchange. So I'm assuming that no one takes exception to projecting this particular line item.
Correct.
Okay.
What do you've had a change of heart, I assume, but
If you want to change his mind, we're all going to go home right now. On this phone.
but that's
All right.
what you got. So we got to make sure we deliver that money to the town, Woody. Now the pressure's on.
That's it.
Yeah, and we're well on our way with Eversource Path 2, or Path 1, I'm sorry. And now it's just finalizing the federal group.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a race to see how much of the equipment can be American made, and that's really in Craig's area. I don't honestly have an idea.
Yep. All right. Next item is the radiant flooring at the kindergarten and pre-K. This is also one of the 4 ed spec items. I know there's been some talk about it, strong opinions one way or the other from several folks.
I agree with Sharon. We should keep it. But one thought that needs to be, I think, reviewed by Craig is whether or not, as part of the system of HVAC for the building, it would also qualify for the 30 to 40%.
Okay.
I don't see why. I really don't see why not. But I'm not an attorney nor a tax planner.
Okay.
I mean, do we want to keep it as a possible alternate? And can we wait? Can we make that decision at DD if we find we have still have a problem at DD budgeting?
Jeff, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think we can leave it as an alternate. I got to talk to Craig about, how difficult it is to pull it out at the end of DD, but we've done it before on projects, so I don't suspect it to be that difficult. So, I'll ask him if there's any concerns with that, and then I'll also ask him if this system qualifies for that additional 30% as well, and get back to the group.
For the purposes of this documentation exercise, my thought would be to label it as rejected, so that way it's in the base scope and therefore not modifying the ed specs at all. And that if we have to pull it out at DD, that's because of cost overruns, what have you, then that can be explored at that time.
I agree with Adam on that one.
Me too.
All right, this next one is the third of the 4 ed spec items for the in-room restrooms, basically combining the ones next to each other to save some fixtures. Jeff, my thought, this one also might be left in and then pursued as a later DD item, considering it's just eliminating some fixtures rather than redesigning to a whole game bathroom scheme. Does that seem to jive?
Yeah, it's mostly correct. I mean, I think there'll be some spatial changes if we go from 2 to 1. But yeah, that could be a late game modification.
Yeah, I think we leave it in, reject this as a reduction. I just think just from a teaching point of view with those kids, you want to be able to have them go to the bathroom in the room, not in the room, but you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Or it's going to be a nightmare trying to escort these kids to the bathroom. I think the Board of Ed would probably reject it too, but I say we leave it.
Yeah, and this, to be clear, this one was just for basing it 2 doors with just one sink, one toilet.
I
It's-
understand. I don't think the savings is enough to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, fair enough, fair enough. So, okay, any other thoughts? Otherwise rejected?
I agree.
Moving right along. The playground poured surface to wood chips. So there were 2 different playground items. One that was listed as an alternate would be the consolidation from 3 to 2 playgrounds. And that was up here as an alternate for 200,000. This item was separate. It originally was listed as an alternate. I've shifted it back to possible because there was some other additional feedback after the SBC meeting from the I think it was a superintendent, perhaps, don't quote me on that, but that reiterated some of the concerns that were brought up in this meeting. So not to say that this should be accepted versus alternate, but just to resurface the discussion of if this is something that even wants to be entertained as an alternate or should just be rejected at this time. And then if it needs to come up later as something up later, we can talk about it later.
Adam, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but my granddaughter really had a bad situation with her knee on the wood chips and getting into her knee and then having to have the ER take them out. Does it make any sense to consider having the pre-KK playground or have the surface and wood chips for the older children who are less likely to be doing that? Or maybe they're not less likely. I don't know.
I mean, technically that could work. That'd seem a little odd. I don't know what Bill's thoughts would be about having 2 different systems in the same building.
My thoughts are that we should go with the poured in place. It's just a better product. It's cleaner for the kids. I just think it makes sense. And if we can't afford it, that's one thing. But at this point, I say we leave it in.
I agree.
I
Rejected.
agree with you, Bill. I really hate seeing it. It was an ugly afternoon.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
All right, and then getting down to the last 2. So these are both of the gross square foot reduction items. One of them was the ed spec related classroom exterior wall shrinkage, and the other one was the tightening the building footprint via the hallways and circulation. The one from last time about the circulation has been unchanged. The one about the building footprint through the classrooms is slightly less than last time based on some administrator feedback we got, I believe, last week. Ultimately, it's the same general scope, though, where we have, if I can share this portion of my screen. But
I think we should accept both of those as reductions.
can you see the PDF now?
Yes.
So same general concept as last time, though, with corridor reductions in orange and then the perimeter reductions in blue. Sharon indicated a slight that should be in favor of it. The big thing is this is something that we should be taken now if contemplated, because doing so at Divine Design Development, changing the footprint is too difficult. I will add that the simpler of the 2 in terms of process in that would be the corridors, based on the fact that that's not defined in the ed spec. If you did want to entertain this smaller classroom reduction, that would need, and we'd want to get Board of Education approval to modify the ed specs because it's changing classroom sizes at that point. That's not just something that comes out of a design evolution.
I think that's a big enough savings, though, that it'd be worth asking them for it. And I don't think it impacts the program or the usage of the space to hinder them to do their job well. I think it's something we ask them, actually.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm okay with the hallways, but the classrooms,
I feel should be same size.
Was there a middle ground where I think some of there was a desire for some of the younger grades to have more space in the classrooms and they were still larger? So I don't know if, Jeff, if you would like to explain. I think you were one of the ones that advocated for keeping the kindergarten
Yeah,
larger.
yeah, we kept the pre-K and K around that 1,000 square foot mark, which is on the left side of your screen. There was a request to go lower than that, and we recommended to kind of stay at that level, because once you shrink it even more, I think it will impact programmatically the layout of the room. On the right side of the plan, which are the all the remainder of the grades, obviously that's a 2-story portion of the building, so you would do it on both floors if you were to squeeze the square footage. That I feel a little bit more comfortable with, because historically we've seen classroom sizes in that reduced range more often than not. So I don't know if that helps make a decision or not, but
Jeff, can you go over that one more time? So you're not reducing the kindergarten sizes on the left?
Well,
it was on the blue, it showed reduction.
Yeah, the VE before you on Adam's list contemplates all of it, right, Adam? All the blue. So even with the reduction on the left-hand side of the kindergarten and pre-K, you're still above, you're at that 1,000 square foot plus mark. There was previous conversations about reducing it even further. We would not advocate for that. So what's shown in the blue, we feel is where we would reduce it to without impacting the program. How's that?
Clear, thank you.
Brown, well, fan.
I'm sorry, say that again.
How does that compare to Brown?
I think Justin was quite clear that these are still larger than the ones shown at Brown.
They are.
Jeff, or is the savings, if we shrunk the cut in size, would the savings be roughly linear?
Linear as far as
Well, let's say
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, Woody. If the bulk of the square foot savings is actually tied in the kindergarten and grade 1 and 2 classrooms, because those are being reduced by 100 square feet or 90 square feet each, and there are a lot of classrooms there. Grades 3 through 5, each individual room is only shrinking by 40 square feet. It also gets a little piecemeal there. So if you were to only take off, I guess I missed Jeff's point about which ones would be the more favorable, but there is a differentiation between the various room sizes and how much they're reduced to still maintain functionality.
But because there's a 2-story building, what we do on the first level affects the second. So I was just wondering if to make a compromise, we have a $250,000 item, could we get it to 175,000 or 150,000? I know we can't go in half because we can't touch the kindergarten, but could we, touch that first, second floor area of the higher grades just a skosh to get that number down a bit and have it so everyone's comfortable?
They are taking out from the kindergarten, but not as much as what was recommended.
right.
So
Right,
if
but
you
it's still
wanted
a
to
large
just,
building, yeah. Right.
if you wanted to leave the kindergarten, that's only one floor affected. So if you just took out along the top or in the back, the blue lines and the 3 blue lines in the back, which would be 2 floors worth,
Mhm.
would that put us where Woody said about the 175 as opposed to 250? Because I think 850 for a square footage for a classroom is more than adequate. I mean, I really do. I mean, 900 was luxurious, to say the least. I think it's not going to affect the program, and it will definitely affect the budget getting rid of it. getting rid of that extra 40 and 90 square feet, depending on the classroom. I don't
My
know.
only question, and I don't want to say that I'm for like going back and revisiting the wood chips, but playground surface can be changed after the fact. Some of these other things that we've talked about can be changed down the road. Building size can't. I mean, is there anything to revisit that, you know, we could go less on now, but could be improved upon in the future, as opposed to cutting things now that we can't do anything about going forward?
I mean, Billy may want to comment. Mine is not, you know, factual, but people tend never to go back and change these things.
Want to ask him? So Jeff, what was your thought on what Woody was asking about the double story reduction and not the kindergarten?
I mean, you could certainly do that, and leave the pre-K and K as is. I mean, we were asked to look at it to see proportionally across all the spaces, what would it look like to target a, you know, a net reduction of X. So that's what we did. You're just not going to save as much. I mean, and where, you know, if you look at the detail of the savings as well, it's, you know, when you're talking a foot and a half, you're not saving, you know, all the rest of the stuff in the room already that exists, you know, the millwork and the, you know, the stuff that already is the premium. So you could certainly do that. I don't, you're going to realize less of the savings. And I think, I don't know where we are with the overall VE, Adam, as far as the target.
Yeah, that's where it's going to go next. Is really the can you see the spreadsheet now? Right now, after we've changed things tonight, it's at, you know, just about 2.3, 2.4 is still at the bottom line. So if you were to reject these two items, it'd still be that 2.3, 2.4. If this were accepted, it'd go to 2.1. If this were accepted, it'd be at 1.9.
I say we accept it, get it down.
Insofar as the, you know, kind of the selection of which rooms might get reduced or not, it started to go down a path of trying to design via spreadsheet here, where I think maybe the focus might be on, does the committee think that the $250,000 in value for the reduction is something that the project wants in order to move forward in a responsible financial manner, or is aligning with the charge of the square foot of the ed specs more important than a $250,000 savings at schematic design?
Good question.
Another question, Adam, is where are we relative to reimbursement in our allowed square footage? Is that involved at all here?
We were fairly close as part of the original square footage calculations to the maximum limit. Now this has gone over, so that would theoretically reduce the percentage of reimbursement that'd be eligible for if we had a much larger building. The original program spec called for. I'm sorry, the gross square footage called for, inside face rather. So reducing this would help ensure alignment. There will probably be discussions anyway about whether or not there's some opportunities for space waivers and things of that nature. So nothing is yet finalized, but reducing square footage would help with ensuring maximum reimbursement from the state.
Yeah, it would help marginally. And then just to get back to the question on the square footage, I guess my recommendation is that I'd rather have a more dollars and less square foot, so I have a better quality building, knowing that the square footage that you have identified or we identified still serves the program well. You'll end up with a better you have more dollars to invest in the quality of the overall building. So I don't know if that helps, but I'd rather see that, you know, more money invested in the quality than a few extra square feet that may not impact or change the program any.
I agree.
Yeah, that's helpful, Jeff. Thank you. So I don't, I mean, Bob, I don't know what your,
You go. Okay, I agree with Sharon and Jeff. Yes.
okay, we're all aligned then? Okay. So we're gonna accept these for now and then no turning back at this point.
You gotta get Board of Ed approval, though. You're changing the ed.
Yeah, no, understood. And we had, as you know, we had a preliminary meeting with them, but the fact it's still larger than Brown, there's equivalency type issues there, so. But we'll have to cross that bridge with them.
So ultimately, what the presentation of the Board of Ed will be is basically the modification of the ed specs to match up with those blue areas that we just talked about. So they have seen this before. It's just a function of getting that authorized because that's a substantive change. Okay, so going back to the sheet, that should be it. Let me just double check here, but I believe that's it.
I do
Okay,
like the
yeah.
too. That's psychologically that's a better,
Under 2 million, you like that, Graham?
psychologically, I feel better. It's what's 2 million between friends, but this,
I need different friends if it's just 2 million between friends, I think. Okay, so unless there's something else, this is the value engineering log. What I would do then is next steps, just so everyone's aware, is correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the next Board of Education meeting is the 9th, January 9th. So that would be that the modifications to the ed specs would be put in front of them then, obviously with the attendant backup of what the savings value was that was driving that decision to help get it to underneath the $2 million variance. The two motions that are in your packets, which I can flash on the screen here if desired, do reference the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen as the approvals contingent upon. But otherwise, they basically screen here.
You want me to read this or can we just?
If
Hand it
that
over.
wording is good to you, then that's what I would propose as the draft motion, the draft motions.
Okay, I would like to propose we accept the draft motion of the value engineering as written here by Adam.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
What do you seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Beautiful.
The second component of that is the authorization to direct Tecton to proceed to design development with all the attendant changes we've had here identified in the value engineering log.
I'll make that motion as well. So do what you wrote there.
What do you want to second that one too?
I'll second that one too.
Keep it simple for Raquel. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Beautiful.
Sorry. Just so everyone knows, while we're on this topic, Seth referenced the January 10th as the next Board of Education. So Seth just joined on at 5:30. So yes, it says the only reduction was the only item that affected the ed specs is the reduction of classrooms around the perimeter. So not just the kindergarten spaces, but the whole perimeter around the building, like we had shown to the Board of Education. The rest of the ed spec items, the radiant flooring and that kind of thing, those were not accepted as value engineering items. Okay, then for the next meeting, the one other item that you'll see is in addition to just an update to the calendar and schedule, which will work through Tecton and Gilbane as we get into design development. There'll be an updated budget document and breakdown that shows where the 5 million hits and identifies what the new design development target budget is for Tecton as we move into the next phase. But otherwise for tonight, that's all we needed to do.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Moving on, any additional public comment? Does Seth, I know he texted you. Is there any public?
No. That's it.
Okay, any final remarks? before we break?
I just want to say thanks to everybody for moving it up to 5 o'clock. My mother will be happy. I'm not going to miss dinner.
Our pleasure. And thanks to
Thank
all of
you.
you for your support on the HVAC. It means a lot to us. I think it'll mean a lot to the Board of Ed over the years.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Great. And we're still trying to chase some more items on the site, but we'll have a separate, Jeff, we'll have a meeting. We'll talk about how we can maybe find some money. And we do just start thinking about when we submit to planning and zoning and wetlands, because that's probably the next, at some point, I know you gotta get your civils tightened up a little bit to submit, so. But we'll have a separate.
I do have a question. Is this, are our budgets including doing the extra stuff we need to do if we don't sell the river to the land trust? Or is this based on the land trust owning the river and we're just doing a septic?
We've already, this is based on the land trust moving forward. They
Okay.
voted in favor. Now we just have to go through the town. The town has to actually accept, we have to have a meeting to officially accept it, but the land trust has voted to transfer the property, so that's.
Okay, good. I didn't know. I hadn't heard. So great.
Yeah.
It'll be at the Board of Selectmen, at their next meeting. And then it will go to P and Z for an 824, which is just a referral. And then it'll go through the process. That should happen in the next, month or two, all that stuff. So I don't see any big hurdles now. I just think it's a formality.
That's great. Thanks.
Great. Any more final comments, anything? Chuck, you want to say anything? Any words of wisdom here, Chuck, or anything? Are you
Happy
good?
New Year. Nah, great job by the team collectively. I think great. Just listening, I think it's been a great dialogue, honestly. Not being in the weeds, Jeff, I think you're doing a great job, guiding the group from the architectural side. I really do. It's been good to have you guys on board. So I think good collective team effort, to be honest.
Thanks, Chuck. Beautiful. Okay, with that, anyone make a motion to adjourn? Bob, second? Tina, all
Second.
in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of everyone's holiday. Thanks for.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
Happy